I was able to associate hard work with success.
Yeah.
And I said, never again am I not going to make it because I didn't follow through. Whenever people say to me, oh, you should have made it, you're better than Mus, I said, no. Mus should have made it because he applied himself. While we were playing pro, he was trying to become pro. I was getting a lot of pressure because marketing was meant to be my specialty.
Yeah.
And we were trying different things. We were trying getting artists to tweet for us and it just wasn't working. And I took a step back. I was like, look, let me look at the data. And I noticed there was a rapper called Koke. He was consistently number one. And literally, I kid you not, over a space of 90 days, we had about 30,000 subscribers. One of our clients indirectly employs 100 people. And they did £8 million revenue last year.
Wow.
And we're looking to do 16 million this year. So culture is this unspoken thing in the room that you just know. And there's real currency in that.
And you're managing about 10 million a year.
Yeah.
How did you get to that point? And do you feel a sense of pressure?
You're not defined by where you come from.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big message that I always want to tell people.
Like you have to be able to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
When you grow up in ends, you don't realise it when you're confident, but you have an audacity to do things that ordinarily most people wouldn't be willing to do.
Welcome back to Takeover Experience. We have special guests in the building. Maz, how are you doing today?
Doing great, bro.
Yeah. How's Translate Culture been today? You told me that you have a busy day today, right?
Yeah, busy day today. So we've got a photo shoot for it's actually a video and photo shoot for a TV ad for one of our clients. And my daughter's involved, so I'm super looking forward to that.
Wow, that's epic.
Yeah.
The family's involved in business now,
involved, yeah. So and it's actually the second time we've been involved in any campaigns, but she loves it. She loves being on screen, so.
Love that. So, who is Maz?
Maz, that's a very interesting question. Right, so Maz is a Congolese-born founder. So I run a company called Translate Culture. We're a data and digital marketing agency, primarily working with Black consumer brands. I came to the UK when I was 6, so I've been here around 30 years. From Congo. Have very little memory of Congo.
Really?
Yeah, very little. What I do remember though is I remember liking football. I remember it being very vibrant. So my grandma actually had a bar. So I always remembered like just the vibrancy of like some of the brands. So there used to be the brand called Primus and Skull, which were like the number one alcohol brands, and that always stuck with me. And I think maybe that's where like my branding and marketing background sort of comes from. But no, since I've been in the UK, I grew up in North London. Yeah, did relatively well in school. Played a bit of football, played for Charlton when I was 14.
Did you?
Yeah.
Whoa, okay.
It's one of those things, my mom told me to stick to school, but when Wayne Rooney signed that 100k contract at 18 or something like that, she was like, what happened to that football again? I was like, well, you told me to stick to school.
That's what they always say, what happened, right?
Exactly. But and then now I've just kind of, studied marketing, worked in corporate for about 9 to 10 years.
Okay.
And then now I run Translate Culture. Husband with 2 kids and 2 girls.
Amazing.
But yeah, that's me.
Wow. You know what? I'll give you the award for the most in-depth intro.
Oh, is it? All right.
Yeah, most people just say, I'm this, I'm that. But I like the way you explain. This is why you're in marketing, because you know how to tell a quick story and then give a bit of your background, which makes it easier for me to ask you follow-up questions. So you said that you went to, you moved over from Congo, right?
Yep.
How comes you have little memory of that? Like, how comes you don't remember so much at 6?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it's just because, 30 years is a long time here.
Yeah.
I think, I remember a few things, but nothing like substantial that sort of sticks out. And, I've never been back since, to be fair. Which is
really?
Okay. Because most of my family's in Europe. So you got families in Belgium and places like that. Only my grandma, I believe, is back there. She travels to come see us. Yeah. But I want to go. And it's interesting because, funny thing, when you have children, you start to learn more about yourself. And like my daughter now, when they ask her where she's from, she says she's Congolese, Ghanaian, Jamaican. And she's very proud of her heritage. And the school very much encourages that. And it kind of made me a bit like guilty, like, oh gosh, I wish I tapped in a bit more into Congolese culture.
It's not too late though.
Oh no, definitely
never too late.
I've started.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I love Congolese food.
Okay. So name me some Congolese food, because I don't even know much of what's the best.
So the best Congolese food, there's something called taba.
Okay.
which is goat. It's like grilled goat meat.
That
Bro,
sounds amazing.
Trust me, it's
I defo.
trust
You better have some of this at your event.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? Someone put me under pressure last time. I was like, "Where's the Congolese food? How you have an event no Congolese food?"
Yeah,
so
see?
taba, it's lovely.
Yeah.
That's kind of like our national dish. Then there's kwanga, which is like cassava leaves, like
Okay.
fufu, but type of thing. And it's pondu, which is cassava leaves again cooked. There's
Yeah.
loads of dish, but what's it called? Taba is well known. Like if you meet a Congolese person and say like taba, they'll be like,
That's what it is. Okay,
Yeah.
I need to find myself some of that. Amazing. Okay, so you moved to the UK. What area do you say that you grew up mostly in?
In North London. So
North London,
we
okay.
moved all around North London. So I originally lived in Wood Green, moved to Tottenham, Edmonton. I've literally stayed in those 3 areas.
Okay, cool.
In and around. Then my mum moved out to Essex, and I sort of moved back to North because just all my mates were still around there.
Yeah. How do you find it in growing up in like Edmonton, Tottenham area?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I loved it, man. I mean, for me, you know, what I love, especially Tottenham. Tottenham's probably the area where I spent the most time. And Tottenham's one of the most multicultural areas in Europe.
Yeah.
Like, every ethnicity you can think of is there. So for me, it was the first place where I went to school.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of my friends are actually Ghanaian. Just because most of my best friends were Ghanaian. So I spent a lot of time in Borough Farm. I almost feel like I've traveled the world just living in that borough.
That's a great statement to say. Yeah.
It's,
I know what you mean by that though.
It's such a obviously, you know, like it's a deprived areas and there are challenges and stuff like around crime and stuff, but I saw it as home, you know what I mean, like, and it's maybe like the naivety of growing up in an area you don't necessarily see it how other people see it, but yeah, Tottenham was amazing. Then my family moved around, but yeah, no, I really loved it, really loved it. And also there was on West Green Road, there was a Congolese community there as well. Okay. So like I used to go to a barber shop, which was Congolese. Next door was a shop that sold Congolese food, and there was a restaurant. So we're actually doing a documentary on West Green Road. So it's the only place I remember where most of the businesses were predominantly black owned. And actually the first black millionaires called Dyke and Dryden were based there in the 60s.
Okay. What were they doing? What was it?
They were selling hair and beauty products. So
really?
Yeah, early in the 60s.
Bro. Early, and we didn't replicate that for some reason.
Early, bruv. And,
wow.
And it's what was very interesting for me. I didn't find out about them until about 5 years ago. Okay. And I would consider myself quite a historian of Tottenham and of Haringey. But I found out about them because somebody did a documentary and they mentioned them. And I went on Amazon and actually found a book called How They Made the First Million. Incredible. Like they actually, you know, the Afro Hair and Beauty show. They founded that. They did so much for the community. Wow. And I actually interviewed the guy called Rudy Page, who's their marketing manager. Great conversation. And a lot of the marketing techniques I'm using today, they were doing back then. Really? Advertising on.
So they're ahead of the time.
Ahead of the time. They were advertising on pirate radio stations.
Right? Right? That's smart though.
It's smart. Which is what we're doing. We're advertising on like, you know, black platforms. Like, you know.
And I was listening to pirate back then too. Yeah.
Exactly. And the way they did that, because they knew that's how they could reach their audience. Yeah. Right? And it's just, so it's really fascinating. So, that's kind of, I can't remember how I got here, but that was, so West Green Road in particular, if you're Congolese and you in the 90s, that was like a staple. But in learning the history of that, you know, the Caribbean community and what they had built prior to that, and then the Ghanaian community have come. To this day, you can go there today and see loads of businesses from different parts of our diaspora.
That's amazing. I feel like, you know what's so funny? Even though you said that you didn't go back to, you know, Congo, I feel like you still absorb the culture. You don't have to be there to absorb the culture, right? Exactly. I'm Nigerian, Sierra Leonean, and I absorbed a lot of that culture by going to the parties, by eating the food, by the languages that were spoken around me, right? You know, it's not necessary, right? Like you still absorb that, right?
100%, I agree. And I think that's where, you know, growing up, like, you know, we still played loads of Congolese music. But what I find fascinating is like my sister, who was born here, she's more tapped into Congolese culture than I am. Okay. It's this thing where it's like, where you're not born there, you're kind of, it's like, and she's been a couple of times. But I was still tapped in terms of music and all that kind of stuff. But I would love to go back. I would definitely love to take my children there just to kind of see it as well. Yeah, 100%.
So how did you find school as well? What were you like?
So school, I was pretty good at school actually. Okay. I was academic. Yeah. So did relatively well in primary school. ended up going to the worst school. This sounds weird. Ended up going to the worst school in the borough just because my mum didn't understand like how the system works. Like you've got to apply, you've got to pick like your top schools and whatever, you know. And she was still learning English and stuff like that. So I ended up going to a school called D&K, which was not the best school, but actually I think it was the best school for me. Okay, because once again, very diverse. So I made some great friends there. Yeah, didn't have a great reputation there, but you could see the teachers. Some of the teachers cared. Yeah. And like I said, I built some great friendships. School did well. Did my English GCSEs a year early. Wow.
You smart then.
Well, relative. Yeah. I did it a year early. And they took us to Cambridge University. Wow. And it didn't clock till years later that we had gone to Cambridge University. And the teacher was like really trying to drum into us. You guys should all come here, you know, really to inspire us. And I took it for granted. And I think it was a bit of a, because I had two GCSEs by the time I was going into year 11, I coasted a little bit in year 11, you know, and I think that was the challenge is that, and it wasn't until I left that school and went to a sixth form, which was literally like next door, where a bit more affluent sort of kids went to. Most people, they had A stars, and me, I'm super competitive. So I had like A's and B's. I was like, oh no, like, you know, so I stepped up in college. Okay. And then, so I did quite well in school. And obviously football helped as well to get some popularity.
Yeah. Wow. What impact do you think school had on you? Like going to the worst school, but still having teachers that were still pushing you?
Yeah, I think what school did for me, it showed me, I guess, the value of, I guess, your network. So obviously you go to certain schools and then you naturally build relationships with different people, but you start to see that as you start moving into year 9 and year 10 and your friendship circles start to, you know, like go into clusters, like those that are really interested in education and so forth. So I just developed some very strong friendships. Okay. I spent a lot of time, like, you know, after school, I would go to my friend's house, you know, we'd just spend time and get to know their culture, and they'll get to know my culture. So that's one thing I got from school. And also later on learned that it's all about application in school. Like, I mean, most things aren't tough in school as long as you apply yourself, right? Yeah,
it's important.
Yeah. So, but that's the two things: network and application.
Amazing. Yeah. And you went football. How did this happen whilst at school? What point did the whole Charlton thing happen?
Yeah. So so football. I was relatively good at football, and then in year 9, so I represented my borough as well. Wow. So we played Brent. I remember this game in my head. We played Brent, and they were our arch rivals. So usually Brent, us were like the top 2 teams in the, I guess, Middlesex. And I scored a hat-trick.
Okay, wow, that's amazing.
And I scored, when you score header, left foot, right foot, it's like the perfect
it's like the perfect hat-trick, yeah. Perfect hat-trick.
One of them was, I still remember this day, because one of my friends, he was shouting and like, he's like, oh my God, how did you do that? It was do you remember Nwako Kanu scored a goal against Chelsea, like on the touchline?
I think I remember that. Yes.
Scored one of them.
Really? Crazy. Yeah, I remember that. I'm an Arsenal fan, so I remember that. Yeah.
There was a Charlton guy scout there, so got scouted, went into like the trial period and all that kind of stuff. So I was traveling all the way from North London to South London. Yeah. But I'll be getting back home like at 11. You know what I mean? Because it's far. You know what I mean? And rightly so. My mum was like, look, you know, like, this is like, what are you going to do this properly? Or school? And it was quite dangerous coming back home that late. And then I think for me, I missed one game, and I just never went back. Really? I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to face the, you know. But maybe I should have gone back. But yeah, so that was eye opening. But I mean, that team in Harringay, we had some amazing players. We had players at Chelsea, players at West Ham. It was a great team to be part of. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have regrets about it?
About football?
Yeah.
I actually don't.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why.
Cool.
So I didn't make it, but one of my friends called Mus made it, and he's probably the only one within our close network of friends that made it. And I remember, you know, people will always, you know how your mates are like, oh, you should have made it. You know, some people are like, oh, you were better than Mus and whatever. But I'm a kind of person where I'm very observant, like I observe and look at patterns, right? So I would just be finished playing Pro Evo with my friends.
Yeah, I remember Pro Evo.
Pro Evo. And then I'll be going through like, so we lived in Tottenham, so Northumberland Park, which is next to the Tottenham Stadium. Yeah. And I'll see my friend Mus every day training. Okay. Running up and down, doing drills. Okay. Training. Running up and down, doing. So when he made it, I was able to associate hard work with success.
Yeah.
And I said, never again am I not going to make it because I didn't follow through. And the ingredients to success is hard work. So I even said this to him, and I said to all my friends, I said, look, whenever people say to me, oh, you should have made it, you're better than Mus, I said, no. Mus should have made it because he applied himself. And I even had a tagline, while we were playing pro, he was trying to become pro, right? So that was always, I was just trying to remember to myself, it's like, okay, while I was playing pro Evo, my friend Mus was trying to become pro and he made it pro. Obviously, there was growing up, it was like, oh, I wish I made it. But I actually think that lesson taught me and brought me where I am today. And I generally believe that if I didn't go through this journey, I think I'm probably going to have a greater impact in the world and my community going through the journey that I'm going through than I would have had if I was a footballer. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. And I think that it's so important that you made that connection, because I think a lot of people negate, like, there's talent. Some people are really talented, and some people may not be as talented, but they're just consistent, and then they get to that level of talent, right? They fulfill their talent. I mean, how many footballers have Balotelli, I can think of Balotelli, that I'm like, this guy should have been one of the best ever, didn't really fulfill it. He's probably so talented that he was able to make it, but I don't think
could have kicked on.
He didn't kick on really, you know. And he's one. Shout out to Balotelli, by the way. I'm not dissing. I'm not dissing you. I like Balotelli. I'm just saying, but it's such an interesting thing, and I completely agree with you. I feel like if you're consistent, if you work hard, you give yourself the best chance to 100%. To get to where you need to get to.
Yeah, and also when you look at the data, a small number of people make it, and it takes so much to make it, and it's the consistency. And I look at a football career as much shorter than a business career. So in that
100%,
I get to play business till I'm 90.
You
know what I mean? So that's one of the reasons why I don't have much regret.
Amazing. So so that happened, and then I guess said that you end up going to uni. What did you study at uni? Yeah, so I went to uni. I went to Hertfordshire University. I studied business. Okay, business. It's interesting actually, because when I was in college, I actually wasn't going to go to university. Okay. Two things pushed me. My stepdad was really he was very competitive. Yeah. So like, my mom would be like, oh, my son did really well in school. But he needs good A-levels. Okay, so I'll have to prove him. And then he's like, oh, but he needs to go to uni. You know what I mean? He always put milestones. And I'm super competitive. But it was actually my friend Leon, who the year prior had gone to Brunel University. Yeah. And I saw the level of maturity that he had developed in the space of 9 months. Wow. So he came back, we were playing pro again. And he was just so mature. He was just sitting there and he was like, you could just tell that it felt like you guys could be doing more than this. And that kind of inspired me. I was like, look, I want that. I want that level of growth. So a lot of my friends went to Brunel, but I purposely chose to go to Hertfordshire because I actually wanted to do something. I want to stay close to home as well. So studied business, but I actually went there to do finance. And my rationale was finance, the bank, that's where the money is. So I'm going to go work. Yeah. Everybody thinks that's where the money is. Not that there isn't. The money is there, but there's money in other places too. Yeah. Exactly. So that was my algorithm, was like bank money. Yeah. And then started the course. And you know, when you start school, uni, first year, you do a bit of everything. You do like foundational marketing, foundational finance, foundational accounting. And marketing just grabbed me, man. Really? I was like, okay, I get this. I'm creative. I'm good with numbers, but I'm also creative. And I was like, so I switched my course to business because I still wanted a broader business understanding, but I specialized in marketing. It was a 4-year course. Wow. Third year was an industrial placement, which was probably the best decision I ever made because it meant that I got work experience. And I graduated in 2009, so this is post-recession. Yeah. So having that work experience was super helpful. That's so interesting that you decided marketing was something that you wanted to do. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, and it's very interesting as well if you think about it. Marketing, especially in my marketing class, it was predominantly female, predominantly white, to be honest. And I think most of my friends that I grew up with, it was like accounting and finance. Do you know what I mean? You kind of drummed into you. But for me, it was just the creativity of marketing, just the concept made sense. Like the concept of like the 4 Ps, product, it just made sense. I was like, I can be both analytical and creative in this space. Yeah. But yeah, probably the best decision I ever made. And at what point did Mixtape Madness, did this happen during uni or was that like after uni? Yeah, so I graduated 2009. Interestingly, so when I was in my industrial placement, so this will link in very well.
I went to Brunel University, so I was used. So I went to Hertfordshire, but I was working at Nissan. So Nissan had an industrial placement. So they asked us to go to do a tour at different universities. So I went to Brunel University and I bumped into my friend Andy. Andy.
Andy. Shout out Andy. He's been on the podcast as well. Yeah.
And Andy, Andy always says to me, it was the most inspiring thing for him to see someone from his own area coming with a corporate brand, saying, you know, trying to get people to work. Yeah. So me and Andy's relationship really kicked off from there. And then I built a bit of a reputation. So when I was in uni, I had a blog with a friend of mine, my friend Leon, and we were trying to be we didn't even know this is what we were trying to be, but we were trying to be like the Huffington Post for the culture. Okay. Essentially, we just wanted, and I stand by this. I think I coined the phrase user-generated content, but neither here.
Okay.
But that was the tagline.
UGC, right?
UGC,
okay.
Yeah. It was like user-generated content. So what we said, we'll crowdsource. A lot of our friends were writers, so we thought we'd crowdsource people's opinions. So I would write about football, he'll write about rap and music. So that's where it started, and it built a bit of a buzz within like North London. Yeah. So when Andy and Eddie came up with the concept of Mixtape Madness, they were like, we got to get Maz on board. He's good at marketing. Look what he's done with the brand was called People Leaped at the time. So I got involved super early. Okay. And the problem we were solving was literally like, we wanted to access all the demos and the mixtapes that we grew up with, Kano, all of those guys. And that Piff was obviously an example of that. Yeah. So we were like, well, let's create a UK version of that. And I love like problems that are like super simple to explain. Yeah. But that I'm passionate about. Yeah. Well. So that's how I jumped on board.
That's crazy. I guess what was the highlight of your time doing Mixtape Madness? Yeah.
Oh, so many. Yeah. So the biggest highlight, which actually got me into data and digital marketing, was so there was 5 of us. Okay. Right.
In total, that was the team. Yeah. Okay.
And it was a great working environment. So I was working corporate at the time, but this was a proper startup. Yeah. And we put our own money in. Okay. So it was a lot of pressure, and with guys from you're from the area, like there's a lot of ego and stuff, and so but it pushed us. It's like what are you doing on the accounting? What are you doing with marketing? It's like it was a lot of pressure, which was great. And I look back at it, and it's the reason why I love startups now. The highlight for me was, we were growing, but we weren't growing fast enough, and there was a few other competitors. So there's another platform called Download a Mixtape or something like that.
I don't know if I heard of them.
There's another one called Hood Tapes. All of those stuff. So there's a few others. So there's a lot of competition building up, and I was getting a lot of pressure because marketing was meant to be my specialty, and we were trying different things. We were trying getting artists to tweet for us, and it just wasn't working. And I took a step back. I was like, look, let me look at the data. So I installed Google Analytics at the time. And I noticed there was a rapper called Koke. He was consistently number one. So we had like a chart as well. Yeah. On Mixtape Madness, so you could see which mixtape was getting the number one and more streams. There's an artist called Koke, and he'd just been signed by Rock Nation. He was consistently number one. He had a mixtape called Pure Coke Volume 1. Amazing mixtape. And I said, let me look at the data and see, like, because I know I didn't market that mixtape. But why is it number one? So I looked at the data, and I could see that about 40% of his traffic was basically, he accounted for 60% of the traffic organic to our site, but 40% of his traffic was coming from Wikipedia.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
And back then, Wikipedia, you can tweak it. You can go in there and change a few things. I think that it's a little bit more, it's harder to do so now. So I just followed the breadcrumbs, and I was like, why are we getting so much traffic from Wikipedia? And I went to his Wikipedia page. Somebody created a discography page, and under mixtapes linked our website. So that Pure Coke mixtape was linked back to Mixtape Madness. Oh, and I was like, guys, stop all other forms of marketing. What we're going to do is we're going to go on every single UK rapper's Wikipedia page. We're going to create a mixtape section and do the whole discography and link it back to our site. What I didn't know, why that was so genius, was Google at the time, Google's search engine optimization, search engine algorithm very much ranked Wikipedia really high. So anything that was coming from Wikipedia had very strong, domain authority. And literally, I kid you not, over a space of 90 days, we had about 30,000 subscribers. Wow. And from learning that, I was like, okay, we've got to do this tenfold. And then Chipmunk was dropping his first mixtape after he signed to T.I. And literally, I went down the rabbit hole of just learning SEO. And we were going to compete with that Piff, because that was the only mixtape that was going to be both UK and US. Yeah. And everybody was kind of just building up the hype around it. Used all the knowledge I learned from SEO, the Wikipedia and stuff. And we actually were number one in the UK for Chipmunk's mixtape. Wow. Even beating Chipmunk's like literally, if you Googled, I think the mixtape was called London Boy. We literally beat beat his tape.
Wow.
And so that was a highlight for me. And that's what made me realize, actually, I'm good with this data thing. And that marketing was moving more digital. And by being digital, it allowed analytics. And then I realized, actually, that's where my strong point is. And that's what I'm going to double down.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm curious, the data point, what made you think, I'm going to look at the data? It's not so obvious though, but
yeah, it's not. You know what it is? I was tired, frustrated because I had a full-time job as well.
Okay.
And and I was doing I had so many projects at the time. I was working on a few different stuff, and obviously you're getting this pressure from the team because we all have objectives and we've got to deliver. And something just told me, like, just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Right. There's got to be an easier way around it, and it's actually one of the philosophies I've developed right now, which is it's not philosophy, but it's a terminology of the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm trying to say, like, you don't always have to do it the hard way. So because I installed Google Analytics because I worked on my previous the Huffington Post platform that I was building, and I realized that I used Google Analytics then to also figure out what kind of blogs we should be writing. So somebody told me, like, mate, you've done this 2 years ago. Why don't you just look at the data? Do you know what I mean? And
it's crazy, the skills that you have already and you forget.
Mad. You know what I mean?
Madness.
And I just developed that just great. And it's been the story of my life. Like, where I am today has been a compounding effect of things that I learned along the way. Yeah. Sometimes even things that when I failed. Yeah. But there's some learning that's just compounded over time. So yeah, that was it. It was like I was frustrated, I was tired, there was a lot of pressure. I was like, look, whatever I'm doing isn't working. Yeah. Let me just take a step back. Like, is the email I'm sending working? Is this done? Oh, but hold on. Yeah. Is this K-Coke guy? Let me go down that breadcrumb.
Mad.
Yeah, that was it.
Mad. So you mentioned that you left Mixtape Madness. At what point did you leave?
Yes, I left Mixtape Madness about 2014.
Okay.
Mainly because, like I said, I was doing a lot. Like career, I was trying to do. Obviously, I was with my wife then, but she was my girlfriend at the time. But I had plans to sort of get married and stuff. Just so much on. So I decided to just kind of focus on my career. Okay. And it's also this thing where I did a bit of analysis. Obviously, these businesses were early phase, so it wasn't necessarily paying us because we're putting all the money back into the business. Okay. And I wanted to get married, and I was like, 90% or 100% of my salary is coming from a job. Let me just double down on that. Let me take some time off. Yeah. And then at the same time, I made a transition to go work for the British Medical Journal. Okay. As a campaign selection executive, because I really wanted to start at the bottom again with this data thing.
Okay. So you were doing marketing for a bit.
So I was doing marketing at Nissan.
Yeah. And then, big company. Yeah.
So I was there for like 4 to 5 years. Yeah. In the grad scheme. Yeah. To be fair, I didn't really apply myself. Okay. Because I felt like I had Mixtape Madness. I had a few.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's like a back and forth thing. Like,
I didn't apply myself. When I look back, if I had applied myself, maybe I could have moved up. But then, it's the right decision.
It's all lessons at the end of the day, right? That we learn from.
As well as I probably don't care about cars that much.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
fair enough. You got to be passionate about it, right? Yeah.
So I was obviously more passionate about Mixtape Madness and other businesses that I was building. But yeah, then 2014, left Mixtape Madness, moved into like a job at the British Medical Journal as a campaign selection executive. And that job was, that job was chasing me. Like literally, it was around for like 3 months. Nobody could get a job. And my missus was like, you need to apply for this. I was like, what's BMJ? And interesting thing as well, and this is advice I'll give to young people. See, when I was young, I wanted to work for prestigious brands that my friends knew. Yeah. So from Nissan, I wanted to move to like BMW or Nike or brands that people knew, because when I came to my community, people were like, oh, Mas works in Nissan. And my mum would even be like, oh, Mas is a manager at Nissan. I'm not a manager. But she would tell all her church friends and everything. There's a sense of pride when it's a brand that people know. Yeah. So I always was looking for jobs of brands that people knew. But this job was just like literally lingering every time this recruiter was reaching out to me. But my wife had worked, she was a CBT therapist in the NHS. So she knows that British Medical Journal is a huge business in that space, but in the culture, I didn't know that. Best like career decision I ever made. Wow. Like literally walked into that organization. They were very clear in terms of what data meant for the growth of that business. There was a 3 to 5 year plan of how the business was going to transition. I had a great manager who really believed in me and really invested in me. And what I did, having learned from my previous job, is when you've got a roadmap of where the corporate brand is or the business is going, you can align your career towards that. So I knew where my role fitted in terms of where the business was today. And I got promoted 3 times in 5 years. Wow. Which was unheard of, especially in that organization. But it literally was about applying myself and learning from my friends and reaching out to help for people who'd excelled in their careers.
So what was the role? What was different about the role at this company?
Yeah, so the role at Nissan was kind of more just marketing executive, so helping out like events and all this kind of stuff. The role at BMJ was literally, they had millions of data. So you could imagine every doctor, every kind of, nurse would subscribe to the British Medical Journal.
Yeah.
They'll subscribe to a wide range of their publications. And they just had to basically make the best use of it. So there was different parts of the department sending emails, pulling data out themselves, and they wanted to mitigate that. Obviously, GDPR was coming as well. So my job was to come and work with my manager and actually put in processes in place to make sure that, the company continued to be data compliant. Yeah. But along that way, I just learned so much around like APIs, automations, and all that kind of stuff. And
I love that.
Oh, bro, I
love that. I love that. I love all the tech. I love all the tech talk. Trust me.
So that was amazing.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Amazing. And then I guess Translate Culture, at what point, when did that get born?
Yeah, so Translate Culture was born, I would say 2018.
2018,
yeah.
Okay.
So my wife, Natalie, had a business called Bespoke Binny. She was selling African print homeware.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, on Etsy.
Yeah.
So she
had. Oh, I thought it was still back.
Oh no, she's paused it.
Yes, I remember that. It was paused.
Yeah, she wants to focus on and just like herself and the family, which I'm super grateful for. She's been helping me with the Translate Culture, doing an amazing job there.
Okay,
so,
wow.
Which is kind of a 360 because I worked for her and then she works for me, which is amazing. So she had a store on Etsy, which is like a marketplace where you sell like homemade stuff. And, I was just helping her on the side, just, as you naturally do with your partner. We'll go to markets in South London and all that kind of stuff, just helping along the way. And then it was 2017, just kind of really decided to sort of really be of service to her and like use data to kind of move her from that platform. She stayed on Etsy, moved her to Shopify. So I was kind of learning with her platform. And I was sharing it, I was blogging about it. So it was being shared in like a few business communities. And then just because I was blogging it, one of our friends had an opportunity to get an article on the Evening Standard as an example of somebody who used their skills from work to grow a business. And they recommended us because I've shared everything. I was literally sharing like, okay, pricing's an issue. Here's what we're testing. And we got featured on the Evening Standard as an example of somebody who used their skills at work to grow their own business.
Wow.
Which was amazing because then what enabled me is I built a bit of a reputation once again amongst e-commerce businesses in our community. I started a WhatsApp group and then it just grew from like 2 people to like 100 people.
Really? Like that?
Very quickly.
That's
like in
crazy.
the space of a year.
Wow.
I was organizing meetups. So I'll call favors. Like some of my friends worked at like Google. I'm like, can we use your office to just meet up? And you can imagine, you're a young black entrepreneur starting out your business and, you get invited to Google to be in the office and I'm presenting to you like things you can do around digital marketing.
Yeah.
I was just doing it out of service.
Yeah.
But what was so amazing about that WhatsApp group is I built a reputation, but also I was learning what the problems were. And because I ran Facebook ads for my wife, a few people were like, oh, does anybody know how to run Facebook ads? I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do a workshop on that. And I'll present to people, this is how you run Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Maz, why don't you just do it for me? And how much will you charge? I'll be like, just give me 2 bills. And then the next person will be like, oh, Maz, I heard you did a great job for that person. How much you charge now? I was like, $250. And the next person, I was like, 5 bills. And slowly, it just started building up. And I remember 2019, I had accumulated enough clients to match about half of my salary.
Okay.
And
That's good.
Yeah. And I said to myself, what if I did this full time? So October 2019, handed in my notice. Well, September I handed in my notice. And then, October 2019 went full time. And just kind of took off. And then 2020 happened, lockdown, 24th of March, I remember specifically the day after lockdown, I lost half my clients.
Really?
Yeah.
You lost half? I thought you were going to say that. I got bare clients.
It didn't all go... there were some downturns. And my wife had also quit her job because her business took off. So she quit her job in January. So you can imagine March 24th, the world is like, God, no one knows what's going to happen. But I didn't feel any way around it, like, because I literally, my client, like the biggest brands in the world stopped advertising.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all my clients was like, it was amicable. I was like, no, I totally understand. I don't know what I'm going to do. But it was a blessing because it made me double down on my wife's business.
Yeah.
She had a problem where she used to sell lampshades, which were her best-selling products. But she was having an issue with it because they're so big, shipping was too costly. So I said to her, you've always wanted to teach people how to make lampshades. And there's a trend now that everybody's doing like learning lessons through Zoom. What if you taught people how to make lampshades remotely? But what we'll do is we'll sell the product in a small package. So then that would lower shipping costs. Still charge the same amount, but you're actually teaching your skills and you can teach like tens of people. And we put it in our WhatsApp group and people were like, that's an amazing idea. Then I tweeted it and our community retweeted it and it went viral and literally tripled our revenue the next day whilst lowering her shipping cost.
Wow.
And that was just perfect timing because by the time it came to June and obviously Black Lives Matter and everything, she had already built enough traction that she was featured on Forbes. Martha Stewart picked her up on her blog and actually referenced that her doing those classes was like very innovative. But once again, it's like in the trenches of lockdown, it kind of forced us to be innovative together.
Yeah.
And obviously other people saw that and were like, Maz, I want some of that.
That was it. They want some of that Maz magic.
Yeah. But then what was so beautiful as well at the same time is because the world was locked up.
Yeah.
Locked down, should I say. More people were spending time on social media. But then the big spenders stopped spending. So my £10 or £100 I'm spending for my clients is reaching further and is converting. So we took one brand we was working with, we took them from doing, I mean, they were doing multiple 5 figures. By the time the end of the year it came, they were doing £500,000 revenue.
Wow.
Which is incredible. And just through Facebook ads is how we scaled it. So yeah, so that was, and it's the thing, if I didn't leave 2019, I don't think I would have left in 2020.
Yeah.
Because it would have been too shaky for me to take that leap of faith, especially having a child and we had a mortgage and literally me, my wife, and my daughter at the time was 2 years old. So actually leaving in 2019 was a blessing in some shape or form. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a roller coaster though, bro.
Yeah.
I can't lie to you. I mean, we did save up 6 months worth of savings. If
Smart.
we needed to.
And I love that you say that because that's very important. A lot of people, not that they omit the details, but everybody's circumstance is different. Some people start businesses whilst they're at home so they don't have to pay for rent or anything like that. Some people, like you say, save expenses. So that's quite important to give yourself a buffer.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is absolutely crazy. I feel like, do you know, I've got to ask you this question though. Did you plan... It sounds like you didn't plan, like, which I love, that you didn't plan, like you said, you just was in service to them and then you started to uncover their problems and then that's what brought out the opportunity. But you didn't plan that, right?
No.
That's just something that was just uncovered.
Something I uncovered,
That's the best.
Yeah. And it's funny because now I tell people they should do the same.
Yeah.
Create a community. Because the thing about a community is you get to crowdsource problems.
Yeah.
Because I sat there, I could have done, I mean, if they came in there and said, we're all having problems with graphics design, I could have started a graphic design agency. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it just so happened that the problem they all had was something that I already had talent for or experience.
Yeah.
So now, I think now that I've been through that experience, like I said, I never planned it. I just wanted to have a community that I could serve. And yeah, the timing was perfect. But like I say to every entrepreneur now, if you're struggling to find a business idea, build a community of people you care about the most, that you want to serve, and just listen.
Okay.
And the problem will come.
Okay. That's amazing. That's amazing advice.
And then you go and find a way to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And so now you've refined your business now a bit more. I was having a look at the website.
Yeah. And
like you have like 3 targets, right? Media, consumer, and personal brand. I guess why those 3? Why was those the focus?
Yeah, sure. So when I started Translate Culture, like I said, I was predominantly working with e-commerce businesses. We did end up doing some pretty big like VC gaming companies. So I was like taking any jobs like that was coming during lockdown. Do you know what I mean? But I just realized I had so much passion for Black consumer brands, in particular hair and skin. And I always use this kind of example. I was saying this to my wife and a few of my friends. If you look at the shopping basket of every single person in the UK, right? If we go to Sainsbury's, Tesco's or whatever, 99% of the products that we buy is pretty much the same. You couldn't be able to tell whether somebody was Black, Asian or white if you took away hair and skin, because we're all buying the same toilet trying to be a toothpaste. It's all the same brands, Colgate and whatever. Where there's a clear difference is our hair and our skin routine. Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm buying shea butter, you can probably tell it's probably a black person. If I'm buying, let's say Aaron Wallace or like products that are specifically unique to our hair, that's where you start to see what the clear difference is. Because biologically, that's where we are different, our hair and skin. So I really wanted to double down on that. So when I doubled down on sort of black skin, I guess personal brands, I then realized actually I'm spending all this money on Facebook, spending all this money on these different platforms, but the best way to reach, whenever we looked at the marketing ROI, some of the best results we achieved was when we used an existing independent black platform. So for example, two of our top 3 clients, one is a brand called Ava Estell, founded by a guy called Yao, started a skincare brand because his wife had a skin condition, and he blew up off of Shade Borough. So he did a post in Shade Borough 2020 October when the world was locked down, and basically showed like before and afters of like his products, how well it worked. Prior to him, Amma, who runs Plantmade, she did exactly the same. She showed that she created this product and it helped her hair grow. Like she was actually telling an authentic story, and she was just amplified it through Shade Borough. And what that made me realize, and Gary Vee uses this term called underpriced attention. Right. So this is where you buy marketing awareness in a platform that is not expensive, or is inexpensive in comparison to other platforms. So for me, that was like very fascinating. And there's certain brands we've worked with who are spending tens of thousands on Facebook, but we're like, that's not the way to reach the community. You can push a message through this platform and reach more people. And obviously platforms like Shade Borough, some people like it, some people don't, but all of us were plugged in on that platform.
Yeah.
I mean, my missus used to come. I mean, my missus, like, when it comes to news, she'll go BBC, then she'll check it on CNN, then she'll check it on Al Jazeera. She'll make sure she'll fact check everything on like all the different forms of media. One day she said to me, "Oh, babe, we're going into lockdown." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. How do you know?" She's like, "It was on Shade Borough." I was like, "Huh?" You Mrs. like source, like, she would check every single reliable source. She was like, "Yeah, it's on Shea Borough." Like it became a source of news for everyone. So at that moment I realized, okay, look, if they've got my missus, then they've got the whole culture locked in. So we did a lot of marketing.
For real.
We did a lot of marketing on that platform.
Yeah.
So that's why we've kind of gone into the media space.
Okay.
So we've done a lot of activations because we're essentially media buyers, right? Brands come to us and give us the budget, and they say basically buy me attention and buy me conversions.
Buy me attention. Okay.
So what we're doing now is we're trying to partner with like podcasts, independent black media platforms to basically make our money go further.
Okay.
But also invest in their platform.
Yeah. It's like a cycle, right?
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle, right?
Yeah.
You pay the marketing, the brands grow bigger, then they just keep...
Exactly.
Right, you're keeping it. And this is, when we talk about spend with black businesses, it's not just the buying the products, it's the other aspects of it, right?
100%.
You've got the media aspect, like you said, the marketing aspect as well,
Yeah.
that we've been talking about as well offline. It's so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I feel like we're at that time where it's just about to really boom.
Take off.
It's really going to take off.
And I think for me, media is super important for us, especially independent black media. As I was speaking offline, one of the brands that I sort of got me into consumer marketing looking back was a brand called Dyke & Dryden. They were the first black millionaires in the UK. They were based in Tottenham, literally on the road that I mentioned, on West Green Road. And I mentioned they did advertising through pirate radio stations. And one of the challenges was once the pirate radio stations got acquired, they could no longer use that channel because the price of advertising became too expensive, and obviously our audience was no longer there. But also when I started to look at, and the question you asked me earlier about football, do I regret playing football or not? And I did, growing up, but I feel like I can have a bigger impact with what I'm doing right now because the media space is run by advertising.
Yeah.
You got to think about all the biggest media platforms, Channel 4, ITV, they're funded by, even Facebook, it's funded through advertising. So the real influence is in businesses like Procter & Gamble, who spend billions, right?
Crazy amounts,
Crazy amounts on advertising. Yeah. And if you look at the history of advertising, it was started by consumer packaged goods, so CPG brands, like soap opera.
Yeah.
So the term soap opera comes from, back in the 30s and 40s, women would stay at home and they'll be listening to stories, right? But all of those stories were sponsored by soap companies. So that's actually where the term soap opera comes from.
So wild, right?
So for me, it's like, I'm just trying to take that same framework and bring it to, this century and actually help benefit all of us in a sense, not just the consumer brands, but also the media brands and the jobs it creates. One of our clients indirectly employs 100 people. And they did £8 million revenue last year.
Wow.
And we're looking to do 16 million this year. So I'm
16
million, right? And for me, those numbers, they sound huge.
Yeah.
But it's when you see the people it touches.
Yeah.
When his business was growing, he recruited people in his church.
I love that.
You know what I mean? Just to come help out, And so for me, I work harder for those types of businesses because I know it's not just about this one individual selling the business in a few years' time and becoming 100 millionaire.
Yeah.
It's actually the jobs and opportunity it creates. Even for myself, I'm able to employ. We just, recruit another person to help us with ads. So there's a trickle down effect. And even the distribution center that distributes a lot of my clients, it's black owned. So there's.
What do you mean distributes? Oh, distributes for
the brands,
the products.
Yeah.
Okay, so you help on that end as well.
I don't personally, but a friend of mine runs a distribution business.
See, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah,
distribution.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
that's so interesting.
Yeah, because if you're selling
products, you're gonna need help.
Yeah, you can't store that in your back of your garden anymore. So he manages all that. But all of that is the impact.
Loving the ecosystem here.
Yeah. So that's how we got into the media space, and then obviously the personal brand as well. It's all linked with that because we work with influencers as well. But I also feel like, for me, I'm really fascinated about entrepreneurs' personal brands. And what I mean by that is, and I said this a few years ago, entrepreneurship is in at the moment. And it's good that we're having those conversations in our community because I think these guys that are building these businesses are going to be the superstars in our community. And they should be. Because if you look at the rappers and footballers, they're trying to become entrepreneurs. Right, so entrepreneurship is in right now. Jay-Z and these guys made entrepreneurship cool, right? But these are the guys that were entrepreneurs from the moment they left university. So there's platforms like Numbers Game. Yeah, I love to support them because representation is everything. You've got to see yourself before you can become something. So the personal brand part of that is also helping entrepreneurs tell their story. Okay. So we do brand content for big corporate brands, which amplifies the story of Black founders. So we just did a campaign with Lloyd's, and one of our clients, Amma, was just telling her story on how she grew the business, and just kind of giving back to the Black community and other founders through those platforms. Love
that. There's something else that caught my eye on your website. So you say we believe the future of communication is in the intersection of data, culture, and storytelling. Talk to me about what you mean by that.
Yeah, so I think for me, when I was trying to figure out my niche or my area of expertise, I looked at my journey with Mixtape Madness. I looked at my journey, when I was blogging, and I looked at my journey at BMJ with data, right? And I was basically putting all those three together, and I found my sweet spot in the middle, which was, data, culture, and storytelling. So I'll break down each one. Out of those three, the most important is culture. I think culture is this unspoken thing in the room that you just know. You don't even have to say it. I can just tell where you're from, just how we move and how we talk. And there's real currency in that, right? There's real value in that. And I think for people, especially from our community, it's an unfair advantage because it means that if I'm a marketer and somebody's trying to target my community, they should go through me because I have the unspoken nuance understanding of how to speak to you, right? And I knew I had that. And I know a lot of people in our culture have that. They just haven't had the opportunity to apply it. And then the storytelling part of it is also then, okay, cool, you understand the culture, but how do you speak to, how do you get your message across? What platforms do you pick to even advertise? How do you speak to what are the terminologies? What are the trends that are happening in that culture? But how, so that it feels natural and doesn't feel salesy, right? So that's the storytelling aspect of it, and really kind of connecting with people through stories that they can relate to. And then the data part is the beautiful thing around going back to the Koke story is you put it out to the world. You can now look in the back end and figure out, okay, this worked and this didn't work. Why did that work? Okay, I think it worked because you've got that cultural context and you've got that storytelling context. And I've played that game so much that I've kind of honed myself, my own area of expertise.
Okay.
And it's played out. It's played out because one of our clients, going back, Ava Estell, we just got a report from Facebook. This is from Facebook's head office in Ireland. Our ad that we ran for Ramadan was the most effective in terms of brand recall, so people remembering it, and intention to purchase in the whole of EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And these are ads that we've been running for like years that we just kind of iterate. And we started off using the kind of, the meme platform kind of thing where you have the text at the top, you have the picture, founder creates, whatever. We've iterated that so much that we literally outperformed the likes of L'Oreal and all of these major corporate brands when it comes to brand recall.
Yeah.
And brand purchase and purchase intent off of a Facebook ad. And we're actually applying, and hopefully it'll be featured on Facebook's website.
Wow.
That's culture, storytelling, and also data. Because that's literally what we do. Like we'll put an ad out live.
Yeah.
7 days later and say, okay, it's performing well, it's not performing well. What are the differences? Yeah, and I think that's the future. And I think if you can understand one or two of those, you're going to be a superstar. Even if you just understand storytelling and data, you're gonna go far, because it means that you can do the creative side, but you can also analytically be able to explain why things are working and aren't working.
Yeah.
But even if you understand culture and storytelling and don't have the data side, you can build a podcast. You can build a media platform. So there's a lot of people in our community who aren't analytical, but they understand culture and understand storytelling.
Yeah. True.
So podcasters, influencers, so just even having two of those intersections can push you further. And I think for us, we're trying to work with all those people, to be able to, if the data part is missing, we can plug that for them. If the culture part is missing, we can plug that for them. So so that's kind of like where it's come from.
That's absolutely amazing. I mean, your client list, I had a look. Ava Estell, like you mentioned, Plantmade, Oja, Kai, Tress, who we had on the podcast as well, Ruka Hair, Alonuko as well.
Yeah.
And you're managing about 10 million a year.
Yeah.
How did you get to that point? And do you feel a sense of pressure? And I guess I'm likening it to, back with Mixtape Madness. Maybe the budget wasn't 10 million. I don't know, right? But now it's 10 million. Like, do you feel pressure with that now?
Yes. And the pressure is less about the money, if I'm 100% honest. It's, like I said, the impact. I mean, for people who look like me to trust me with that amount of money, says a lot. And it's a privilege for them to be able to say, look, Maz, I've put my credit card in the back of this thing. You can go and spend hundreds of thousands a week to go bring me the results. Obviously, it took a while for me to get here. When I first started, the clients I was running ads for was spending no more than $1,000 a month. And then naturally you move up to 10 grand a month. Yeah. And naturally you move up to clients who are spending 100 grand a month, right? And as long as you're seeing the results, then they just put the money back into the business. And the 10 million figure, I didn't even realize it until last year. Because I had to present it as part of my presentation. I was like, oh, how much money have we spent on ads? And and I was like, oh my gosh, we really spent 10 million across our client base. Wow. But when you break it down though, and these are still, and I try to be realistic as well. Like these are huge numbers. Yeah. But the kind of work we do, we're actively managing a lot of accounts. So when I broke it down, it was like 800,000 a month or something like that, 833,000 a month, which you break it down, it's about 30 grand a day, which is still a huge number. But some of our brands are making 30 to 40 grand a day on sales.
Fair enough.
So in that context, it's like, but it's, and I'm not sitting here to kind of, belittle it, because it's a huge achievement. It's
a massive achievement. You should be very proud of that,
But it took a while for me to get there. Yeah. And I started doing the £1,000 ads, and I sent the message to a group of the founders. I was like, you crazy people trust me with £10 million. It's like, I'm super grateful, like, but it's the impact, bro. Yeah. Like the jobs it's creating, and just people's lives are changing. People are retiring their parents.
Yeah. I love to hear that.
Do you know what I mean? And that is like, for me, it's priceless.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. What would you say are some of the challenges that you did have, if you go back to that time and you think about it? You mentioned one of them seemed to be 2020, when your clients went down in half. Talking about that and other challenges, what would you say they were? And I guess what kind of made you think, okay, I'm going to overcome this obstacle and I'm going to keep on going instead of like, actually, I'm just going to shut it down?
Yeah, so I think, that 2020, losing half my clients was a big challenge. Like I said, we did have some savings.
Yeah.
But also to mention, there was bounce back loan as well.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, I mean, and I look back at it, in the groups, I was very skeptical.
Yeah.
I was like, this is too easy.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot of scaremongering around it.
Yeah.
And I remember, being one of my mentors pulled me up and said, bro, how did you go to university? He's like, well, I took a student loan. He said, this is the best loan you're ever going to get. Take it. Even if you just have the money there, you're going through, you've lost half your clients. That's what the money's there for. So that was super helpful. But irrespective of that, I think I took it relatively well, but it was scary because my wife had just left her job and her business was, slowly building up. So I was basically paying for most of the things in the house. But my family, were very faith-based. Like, we've been through certain challenges in life that in the context, business seems small, so I kind of had that as a baseline that, things can get better. So my faith very much helped, but also my will to serve. And it's interesting, and there's a client, I won't name who they are, but one of the clients that I was most concerned about, I reached out to them and I said to them, like, I just want to make sure you guys are fine, and whatever agreement we have, I'm willing to provide more than what you're paying for, because that client had so much impact on other businesses in our community. And I remember her response, and she was like, oh, don't worry, we're fine, but I'm more concerned about the knock-on effect in our community. And that's where we connected. I was like, okay, you're here for a purpose.
Yeah,
you've got that service mentality. So let's work together. And I literally went above and beyond. And interestingly, that brand took off, and my missus benefited off the back of that brand taking off. So it was those relationships that really mattered, at a time when people would reach out to me and be like, oh, bro, like, how's things? Like, I was working with a brand called Trim It, Darren, like, incredible founder. He called me, he's like, Maz, whatever happens. And he had to shut down his business. He had a barbershop business. He had to shut it down for a whole year because he couldn't cut hair.
Yeah.
And he called me and he was like, bro, how you doing for money? And I was doing relatively okay. But the call was enough to know that if it got peak, he's thinking of me. And so the other founder that I spoke to was like, okay, I've got the right people around me. And that was helpful.
Yeah.
And the community that came, like, loads of people just because they're thinking, oh gosh, man left his job, his missus left his job. So I was in people's minds.
Yeah.
Right. So that was super helpful.
Yeah.
And then it just took a turn for the best. So that was challenging. And then, naturally you get into situations where, things aren't working out, with clients and so forth, for whatever reason. Sometimes, businesses just go separate ways and stuff, but you just move on. You move on from that, and you just, because my service is for the community, and those businesses that are very much community led, we always work really well together.
I love that. And I love the fact that people were there to support you because you supported them.
Exactly.
And you were willing to support them. And I can understand why they would be willing to. That's crazy. Yeah. Talking about community, actually, Director Culture. I love that. I love that name. I love both names. Director Culture. So talk to us about that. So you've got an event coming up, right? What is Director Culture, and how is that different to other events that are out there? Yeah,
that's a brilliant question. So Director Culture, so it's actually a phrase that I coined in a WhatsApp group with my friends who run Temple, the skincare brand. And I was like, guys, I want to organize an event where we can invite consumer, personal, and black media brands, because I really wanted to get that conversation going on. Guys, we can work together. And I'm sure you've heard of the term direct to consumer, which is how we sell things online, right? So rather than needing a middleman, you just sell it on Shopify and whatever. So I coined the phrase direct to culture because I realized we're not just consumers.
Love it.
We're more than consumers.
Yeah.
And I think we've always been focused on selling to each other, but actually we're partners. We can work together. So, but typically with me, I always like to create businesses or solutions to problems. Because and I was saying this to my friend the other day, actually, I think Black British entrepreneurs, we have loads of support. And especially when you compare it to other parts of the world, you know, we've got some amazing events. We've got the UK Black Business Show. We've got GWAP. We've got Gala, which is more for like the creative side, guys. You've got Founder Vine, which is more for the early stage startups. You've got Andy's AIS, which is more for the investors and so forth. And Demi from Lendo's just got an update. So there's loads of like amazing events that solve particular problems. So I didn't want to just have another event when these guys are already doing an amazing job. And I think where we sort of found our niche was that we were speaking to digital first businesses. And being digital first is you have to be very dynamic. So things change very quickly. You need to know like yesterday what Facebook has changed and YouTube and, you know, even with yourself as a podcast, like, you know, the algorithm, you need to be tapped in really quickly. Yeah. And I just felt like in our community, there hadn't been that level of fast paced conversation. So the event was thrown based on the fact that, guys, this is what's changing. Like, this is what's happening on this platform. This is how you guys can work together, like really fast paced. And we did it as an annual event. And everybody was like, when is the next one? When's the next one? And love that. It's such an investment that we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it monthly. But we're working on extending that community beyond the event, just because the nature of the businesses we work with, they can't wait a year to know that this algorithm's changed. There's an opportunity here, but like people need to be more connected. So at the event, we will be making an announcement on how we're going to make it more dynamic and ongoing. I
love that. Yeah. So speakers, what I guess, what can we expect from an event, and who will be like the key speakers at the event?
Yeah, I'm super excited. So last year, we only had 2 speakers. It was myself and my friend Say, who run Hub. So this year, we've got loads of speakers. So there's a few panels. One of them is actually going to be exclusive, so I'm going to say it on here because by the time this comes out, it will be public.
Oh no, I probably will get it out before then. I'm going to get it out before the event.
Before Friday. Oh no, it's fine.
Before Friday. Oh no, it'll be after Friday. After Friday. Next Monday, I'm going to try and get this out.
Perfect. Because because we're announcing the sort of special guest. So last year we had me and Sate, and then we had the 90s babies in the evening. So I'll give you a breakdown of like how the event works. So it's an all day conference, but in the daytime it's more businessy. It's more panels, networking, all that stuff. And then as it goes to the evening, we actually invite a media platform. So it could be a podcast star or well-known person to come and talk about their journey. And really what we're trying to do is marry up our customers and our clients to actually learn about the personalities and platforms that exist in our community. Obviously, last year we had 90s babies, and off the back of that, they did a partnership with one of our clients, Plantmade, which is like massively profitable for both of them. So this year, so we've got a few panels. So I'm going to speak about the trends, like AI and digital trends that we're seeing, and some of our own platforms that we're bringing out. So I'm probably going to spend about 15-20 minutes doing that. Then we've got a panel which is sponsored by Lloyds Bank, which is called Money Aftermek, how to access funding to grow your business. So on there we've got Andy Ayim, Demi from Lendo, got Christina from Vamp, and we've got Kalia from Lloyds.
Okay, wow.
Yes, which is super cool because, you know, Christina's got a service-based business, so it's good for people who run service-based to realize how they can, you know, grow their business and access funding. Then we've got a panel discussion called It's Personal, how to build a authentic personal brand. So we've got Fasaya Longe, who runs Kai Collective. Super excited about her. And then we've got Jeffrey Boydie, who's he runs a platform called The Wealth of Health. Then we got Timmy, Mr. Money Jar, and then Pilar is the host. But then we've got a fireside chat with myself and a lady called Louise, who's the founder of Shubs.
Okay, yes, I know Shubs.
Very interesting story, and I think her profile is not out there as much, but she's achieved amazing things. And, you know, like she was one of the first people to get funded by YC Combinator, which is like a big tech thing. And then we have a break, and in the evening we've managed to get Candice Braithwaite.
Oh, okay.
So we've got
that's a special guest. Mad. I was talking to my wife about her. My wife's a big fan of her.
That one's secret because we know she'll probably sell out tickets. So we want to make sure like the business side is
at least because, there.
Because she did it. She's got a talk with Coco, I think, a couple weeks before, and they just put it on Instagram and it sold out in like a minute or something.
Wow. Okay.
So 150 tickets. So you know, we know what's gonna happen.
Okay.
People will be like, I'll come to the all day thing just to see her. So yeah, so we're making sure. But no, those are really people I admire, all of them. And I'm just super excited to have them, and you know, they believe in our mission as well, which is super cool.
I love that. I'm so excited for that event, and I think that event is, like you say, is a perfect mix. It's not like anything else that I've seen out there. And again, it goes back to the conversation where we're talking about, where I think the time is right, where it's about to really blow off, right? We're getting that community, we're connecting offline, we're getting people from different aspects, and we're creating our own Black business ecosystem in a way, you know, all three elements of it, which I really appreciate, and I appreciate your position in it. I feel like you've had definitely a lot of impact from hearing your story. I guess what do you have planned next for yourself? I know you told us a bit about the event, but what do you have planned next for yourself? Yeah,
so we just recruited a performance marketing manager. So my goal over the next year and a bit is really to invest in talent.
Okay.
And it's one of the reasons why, you know, come on this podcast, because I've realized that a lot of people don't know who I am. And I think I've been working in the shadows. So a lot of people that know about me are people in the consumer marketing space, which is fine. And sometimes, you know, when you've got a certain business, you don't need the whole world to know. You just need the people that you're working with to know. But what I've realized is what we're doing is actually bigger than just us. That, you know, there could be a kid in Brixton who wants to get into digital marketing, and them not seeing me could mean that they never get the opportunity. So myself is really growing the team, empowering my team, going out there and more to reach talent more than clients, to be honest. So that's what I'll be doing. We've also got a platform that we're launching, which we'll be announcing at the thing. So I'll be sort of co-running that as well. But yeah, it's almost trying to take the next step into pushing the culture forward.
Love that. Where can people find you?
So people can find me on Translate Culture, at Translate Culture on Instagram, and also Direct to Culture on Instagram. That's probably the best place to sort of find what we do.
Amazing, Maz. Like I said, it's been such a great conversation, and I definitely want to have another conversation with you in a year's time, because I think it's important just to keep up with people, what they're doing, how not just the business world is changing, the personal world is changing, just how this ecosystem is changing and evolving. I think it's very, very important. And like I say, I'm very, you know, this is our first time meeting, and I have like this connection, because I'm like, wow, similar stories, similar backgrounds. We're trying to do similar things, but in different ways. And we have like that similar vision. I love that. I love when I meet people that have like think something that I thought of, but we've never met each other. It's like, wow, like that's, it just gets you so excited, and it just like brings your energy to another level. I guess, do you have any final words for watchers and listeners?
No, I mean, just, support us as much as you can as we come to the event. If you can't, obviously follow us on Translate Culture. We will be doing a lot more community stuff as well. We've got a sports day sort of planned as well. So just kind of the community element of it as well. Not everything has to just be sort of business focused, but there'll be a lot more sort of fun things that we've got planned in the coming weeks and months.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Maz, for coming onto the podcast. Really, really great to speak to you. Watchers and listeners, better see you at the event, you know. You better come to this event, this kind of event. Look, where he said, as soon as they announce it, you said this Friday.
We're going to announce this Friday.
Okay, cool. It might be a bit too late. But let's see. Hopefully. Yeah. So thank you so much, Maz, for your time today. Thanks, watchers and listeners, for listening to this episode of Takeover Experience, and we'll see you next week's episode.